Hey there, how's it going everyone? In this video, we're going to be talking about methods. Methods are functions, but these functions can be called in classes and they can be also called on instances of those classes. For example, in the last video, we created a simple method which we call the initializer method or the init method. And this init method was to describe the steps that we would take while creating an object. So in this case, we can also create other methods that can help us to manipulate the data of each object within our class. For example, we may create a function that's going to return some information about an object of our class, for example, an employee. So to do that, we create a function and then we can give it a simple name. For example, let's say get email. Now this get email function is our method in this case, and it takes in parameters, and the first parameter is always the self parameter, which we discussed as the parameter that helps us to describe an object on which we are calling this method, and then we can return any other stuff. So in this case, what we want to do is to just return the email. So functions can have return statements. Also, methods can also have return statements. For example, we can say return, we return self dot email. And what this is to do is to return the email of whatever object we may be calling this method on. So let's try to do this. So we're going to create a new employee object. So I'm going to create a new employee object. I'm going to say employee1 is going to be equal to an employee. And then we pass in arguments. The first argument is going to be our ID. So we can do that by saying ID is equal to 1. We can also pass in the age. So we're going to say age is equal to 22. We can pass in the email, which is equal to, let's say, Jonathan at company.com. We can also pass in the first name, so we can say first name is going to be equal to Jonathan. So let me put Jonathan, and let's say let me put this on the next line. So I'm going to press enter, put this on the next line. So let's say also the last name in this case is going to be, the last name is going to be, let's say Bacon. So when you do this, let me first indent this. So when I indent that, we have our first employee object. I can also create another employee object by saying employee2 is going to be equal to an employee object. So this employee object is also going to have an ID. So I'm going to pass in an ID of 2, an age of let's say 23, and let's say we can also create first name as, can say that the first name is going to be equal to Jane, and then the last name is going to be equal to Doe. And we can also say that the email is going to be equal to Jane Doe at company.com. So we are having 2 employee objects in this case. And now what we want to do is to actually call this method, the get email method, on each of these objects. So let's try to do that. So I'm going to print employee1 dot get email, and I'm also going to do the same for the next object. So I'm going to print employee2 dot get email and call that method on this object. So when I save this, I'm going to run my code. So I'm going to come at my terminal, and then I say python methods.py. So I have some invalid syntax. Let me try to see this. So I'm going to come and realize where that is, and the mistake is here. So I'm going to put a comma, and when I save, I'm going to rerun this again, and you see that it's now returning these two emails of the employees we've been able to create. So we can also create other methods that can help us to return data that we may want for a specific user. So we may want to return their age, so we can say def get age, and then we say self for every object that we shall be wanting. That's the self keyword helps us to carry out an operation on that specific object. We may call this method one. So uh, we can return the age. So we can say self dot get self dot age, and this will return the age of that particular object. So we can also do that same thing. So we can go and print. We can print employee one dot get age. We can also do the same for the next object. So you can say employee two dot get age. And when I save this and come run the file, we see that the ages of the different employees have been returned. So in this video, we've been able to see how to implement methods within the Python programming language. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please go ahead and like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching.